Here is my 2019, only 25,500 miles Porsche Macan S. And here's its damaged engine. A month ago, I saw this Porsche Macan S at a BCA auction for a buy it now of £7,000 less than its trade value. And upon further inspection, I could see that it had a slight engine problem. Now, I thought this was well worth the risk, and I hit buy it now. Right, go on then. All right, easy, easy. A lot less. Again, that's it. And I'm just going to go around here because it's quite evident that the chain is a problem. So obviously this is fully tensioned. Look how slack it is. So I ended up fitting all new timing chains and tensioners, hoping that would solve my problem. But it didn't. There it is. Damn it! And I done some research on this engine and found that there seems to be a common problem with piston failure. So I had to take the cylinder head off to take the pistons out to confirm if I have that same issue. Look at that. And there we go, look. If you look there, I've just cleaned one of them up and see my part number ends with a J. And that J means I have Dongyang pistons fitted to my very expensive engine. Now these pistons are starting to be a very common failure in these engines, and that is because the material used in them is just not good enough and they wear really easily, creating the gaps you just saw in my cylinder wall. So to fix this, I need to swap out all 6 pistons for the pistons it should have had in the first place, which are Marley ones. Now, as I'm sure I've just shown you, that is the reason we are changing the pistons, because they have a J on them, which means they're Dongyang and they are defective. And we are going to be swapping them out for these 6 new pistons here. So we've got Marley pistons, which are now the uprated pistons. They have been superseded. You can no longer buy the Dongyang ones, which in itself to me kind of admits that there was a problem with them, the fact that they no longer sell them. So we're going to be fitting 6 new Marley pistons into the block, and that should fix all our engine problems. Now, from the research I've done, this predominantly affects bank 2, which is pistons 4, 5 and 6. I haven't really seen any issues with cylinders 1, 2 and 3. Now, interestingly as well, I'm obviously going to replace all 6 pistons. You'd be stupid not to. But the new part number for bank 2, which is the ones with the issue, ends in 065AB Marley pistons, which is the latest revision. The pistons aren't the same. So bank 1 is 066AB, bank 2 065AB, probably because obviously they point in a direction, so they have to be opposite. But what I found interesting is pistons 4, 5 and 6, the pistons are over £100 more expensive, which is around about 50% more expensive. They're £322 each, compared to bank 1's pistons at only £219 each. Now, is that because of the demand of them? Are people only replacing pistons 4, 5 and 6? So they're just a lot more in demand, and that's why they cost £100 more? I don't really know, but I thought that was quite interesting. Anyway, it gives us a grand total of obviously sort of £1,800, £1,900 for a set of pistons, which, yeah, it's quite a lot of money, especially for something that, in my opinion, the dealer should be covering. And just a quick reminder to go grab your tickets on the RS6. It is live on Compete for Cars right now. There's only actually about 20% of tickets remaining, so I'm going to put the link in the description. Go grab your tickets, and someone's going to win this beautiful car for just a couple of quid. And we've also got Chris Lix's Porsche Cayman 918 GT4 on there as well, also ending a similar time. I think it's the day after the RS6 ends, so go grab your tickets on that as well. And yeah, someone's going to win a couple of lovely cars. So the order of play, we've got the engine and the stand already. I've had a bit of tidy up. We've got a nice clean working area. The first thing we need to do is I'm going to leave that bank together for now. I'm going to try and just work on one bank at a time, just so things don't get messy and complicated and got parts everywhere. I'm going to spin the engine upside down, and we are going to be removing the sump, the second sump probably, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get to piston, was that 6 and 3 by just taking off the sump. I won't be able to get to the bolt, so we're going to have to take off this second sump as well. Timing chain cover's got to come back off again, annoyingly, to reseal it properly. But yeah, I'm quite interested to build this engine. I quite like doing stuff like this, and I hope you enjoy coming along to watch it. So let's crack on. And there we go, that's fairly straightforward. Access to all of our 6 pistons now quite comfortably. I mean, I haven't had to mess around with the oil pump or anything like that, so quite happy. That was fairly straightforward. Right, what ones do we want first? So this side here. So I want this one, that one, and that one. So we might as well start with this one. Right, let's just pop the piston out the bottom, if I can get it. And there we go, first look. And there we go, look. There's the damage where it's been. We'll have to have a good look at that bore. It looks worse than it is. But yeah, you can see the coating's just completely different to this side, completely gone away. And from all the reading I've done, it's a good thing that these are like cheap pistons, because these wear a lot easier than the block. So yeah, look at that, look. And I think that was piston, no, that was piston 6, so that should actually be the worst one. Right there, look. Yep, piston 4's done it as well, same thing. Seems to be on the same side as well. And same again. So with all 3 pistons removed, I can see that all the damage has occurred on the same side, which is at the top of the cylinder. Now if we look in the bore there, look, we can see where it looks like it's scraped along the top of the cylinder. That's probably the best angle there, look. Luckily, as I just said, the piston's made of chocolate, so it hasn't done any damage that I can see to the cylinder wall. It feels completely fine. What I am going to do is I'm going to use my little tool, and I'm just going to go bosh, just really quickly, just to scuff up this little bit here, just where it's run smooth from the pistons. And there we go, look, nothing major at all. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but just scored it a little bit, so there you go, look, you can see me cross hatchings, look, just so that is a bit less visible, that bit at the top there. So I mean, you saw I did it very briefly, and yeah, I think we're all good to go now. So I'm going to clean up and pistons in. So now we need to swap the conrods onto the new pistons. So I have made sure I've got the right set of pistons. I've just popped out this circlip here, which means I'll be able to turn this over, push out my dodging pin, he says. So what I'm doing here is just swapping over all the new pistons and rings onto the old con rods using new gudgeon pins and circlips. This is quite time consuming because the circlips were a pain in the arse. Now, once I got all the pistons in the bores, I could connect the con rods to the crank using the original main bearings. Now, the engine's only done 25,000 miles. They weren't worn at all, so there was no point replacing them. So I refitted the old main bearings and connected everything back to the crank and torqued them to spec. And here you go, just as a bit of a Tesla. No tapping. Obviously, you're going to get slight movement because the piston obviously has to be smaller than the bore, otherwise it wouldn't go up and down, but it just rocks. It doesn't make any noises. Same with that one as well. There we go. So, looking a lot better straight away. So with bank 2 done, it was time to get to bank 1 and strip everything the same again off bank 1 and get the pistons out, replace them, torque to spec. So as I expected, there's no damage on the cylinder walls on this side. We're all good, which makes sense because obviously the noise was coming from bank 2, not bank 1. So at least we can be confident that that's definitely what the noise is. But we can see on the pistons that it was starting to go, look, the wear on the sides there. And number 2 and number 3, look, you can see on the sides, they are just starting to go. So it wouldn't have been too long, to be fair. So pretty clear cut for this side, just need to put the pistons in and build it back up. Same as the other side, really. But annoyingly, I need to take the timing chain cover off because it's just going to be so much better. Look, you can see where the second sump goes there. It butts up against there. So I'm going to have to put the pistons in, take the engine off the stand, take the rear timing chain cover off, put the second sump back on first, and then put the timing chain cover back on, then put it back on the stand to put the heads on. It's a bit of a pain in the arse, but it's the best way to do it to make sure that I'm definitely going to have no sealing issues and no oil leaking anywhere because yeah, there's a good order to put these cases on, and parts back together to obviously decrease your chance of any leaks, and that unfortunately is the best way to do it. So engine's fully now built back up and ready to go in the car. Apologies, I don't actually know what the last clip of this was because I've been flitting in and out of doing the GTR this week, so I haven't actually worked on this for about 5 or 6 days. So apologies if it might be a little bit confusing, but I have just gone ahead and build the rest of the engine up. Obviously, you know, you saw me strip it, do the timing chains last time, so I didn't want to repeat myself. Only things to note is I had to put another new crank seal in because I had to remove the other one to do the timing chain cover again, and I damaged it, so I had to fit another new one. Other than that though, yeah, everything's just gone fully back together, literally ready to stick back in as I did before. Now, again, I don't want to repeat myself putting the engine back in again, so I'll probably just stick on a time lapse. We'll get it fitted, get the front end on, just connect the bare minimum to get it started and running. So, yeah. But before I do that, I just want to speak to you about the conversation I've had with Porsche GB about this engine, and it will probably be the same conversation that anyone else is going to have regarding piston damages on this engine as well. So I wasn't going to bother contacting them because I knew what the answer was going to be, but people did ask, and I thought, well, as I'm doing a video about it, I might as well contact them so it gives you knowledge of what the outcome would be. Now, I spoke to them and I said, obviously this is the issue. I sent them links to the common problem, yada yada, and as expected, they come back and said there may be some goodwill that they can do. However, Porsche would need to inspect the engine themselves and diagnose it, which I understand from their point of view. They're not just going to take anyone's diagnosis as gospel. They want to do it themselves. But the problem with that is they charge £300 an hour. And obviously I used to work at a Volkswagen dealer. I've replaced engines, I've rebuilt engines under warranty. I know how long that takes. It's roughly 30 hours to strip and rebuild an engine. So before anything's, and by the way, they're not saying that they would cover the cost of the pistons if they were found to be faulty. They just said they would consider goodwill. So you have to authorise, obviously 30 hours times £300 an hour, £9,000 to strip and diagnose the issue for them to turn around and potentially give you goodwill, and they might not give you any goodwill. They might contribute the price of the labour, they might contribute the price of the pistons. But the important thing is, they're going to have you by the cojones, and you're going to be screwed because you've authorised £9,000, and they can turn around and say, yeah, they're knackered, but we're not going to do anything about it. So you're going to have to pay £9,000 plus now another £3,500, £4,000 for new pistons. So it's a massive gamble, a massive risk, which I don't see anyone really doing until Porsche really confirm that this is a fault and it's just a recall. It's as simple as that. And obviously I said, well, I can't give you the engine to strip it because I've already stripped it and rebuilt it. So it's a non-starter for me. And anyway, even if I hadn't stripped the engine, I'm not going to give it to them and authorise £9,000 to diagnose the issue, because ultimately that is the only way that you can diagnose the issue. You can't tell from the engine being built up what the problem is. You have to completely strip it, and that is the problem with this. You can have an idea if you look at bore score, but that's not going to tell you a problem. It's just going to show you've got a little bit of bore score, and they're going to want to take the pistons out to diagnose it properly. So I understand from Porsche they need to strip and obviously diagnose the issue before they can offer any goodwill or warranty, but no one's going to do that. No one's going to pay £9,000 for you to diagnose it. That's the problem they've got. So until this is a verified recall and it's fully goodwill from the start to finish, yeah, I don't think there's really much anyone is going to be able to do going forward. And in my case, certainly not, because I've already rebuilt the engine. So with the engine ready to go back in, I can do exactly that, slot it back in, connect to the gearbox, and remembering I need to connect the front end up to connect my gearbox pipe so I don't pump gearbox oil all over the floor, and I can connect my coolant hoses while I'm there as well, boost pipes just so I can get a full system, a sealed system, so it will run properly so I can listen for any abnormal noises. I did make a mistake. I didn't plug in my crank sensor when I was rebuilding the engine because it sat at the bottom and access that was quite difficult. So I said to myself, well, I'll just plug that in at the end. Trouble is, after fitting everything, I realised that the orientation of the wire went the wrong side of the engine mount, which meant it couldn't fit to where it needed to go. And the only way to resolve this was to either take the engine back out, take the engine mount off, which would have been an hour's worth of work, or there was two connectors I had to completely depin and squeeze through the gap in between the starter motor and the engine mount and plug it back in. And I elected to do that. Probably took just as long though. So we are mostly back together. I am just going to change the oil filter because while I was at Audi picking up a crank seal, I thought I might as well get an oil filter while I was there. Also, you might be able to see I've put my fuel into this bucket. I have got a bolt in the end of it, but it is still leaking some fuel when the ignition turned on. So I'm going to turn the engine over with new oil in it, without fuel attached, just to get some oil pumping around the system before we go for a proper start. Also, I have sacked off the 0W30 engine oil, and I've gone for 5W30. I know 0W30 is recommended, but I'm pretty sure that's only because of emissions. Because obviously the thinner the oil, the less friction, the better emissions. But I think 530 is going to be much better for the engine long term. I've already stuck 5 litres in, so I don't need too much more. There we go. There's fuel going into my little bucket. Right. Let's go for a start. Well, it shouldn't start. In fact, it won't start. It will just hopefully turn over. Let's get some oil pressure. Lovely. Go on, you pump that oil around. There's got to be better clips to make, so surely there's better clips to design. Oh, it's a crap clip. Right, I'm going to replace that clip because it's crap. But for now, it will do. Right, let's have another go. This time I'm just going to stick my foot through the window because it's an absolute effort trying to get in. Oh, I can't even do this. Ugh. Can't just reach the pedal. Oh. Right, let's have another go. This time we should have some fuel. On start. Just got no feel of it. Whoa. Listen to that beauty. She sounds sweet. Bit smoky. Importantly though, it sounds lovely. No ticking, apart from the injectors. That's just the high pressure fuel pump over this side. Bit smoky because of the WD-40, but she sounds lovely. Beautiful. So I'm now going to just let it run up for a little bit. I need to add some coolant because I've got new coolant. I'm going to let it run for another 15-20 seconds. I'm going to check the oil level, and then we're going to run it up to temperature. Now I've just read all the codes just to make sure we're all good there. There is a couple. I haven't plugged in my radiator fans because I remember from last time they kicked in straight away, so I couldn't hear any noises, so I left them unplugged. And I've got auxiliary coolant pump, open circuit, and pressure sensor upstream of throttle valve no com. So there's obviously two things I have forgotten to plug in there. Right, it was quite easy finding the additional coolant pump that I haven't plugged in. It's just down here. Literally the sensor is right next to it. That one. There we go. So pressure sensor upstream of throttle valve. Is that Porsche's posh way of saying boost sensor? Which I'm guessing is around here, which yes, it is. I have not plugged it in. And I don't know where it, there it is. No, that's not it. I don't know where the plug is for the boost sensor. Hello? Oh. There she is. Right, that's those two now plugged in, so hopefully these will now clear, apart from the fan. Okay. Oh, I don't know why it's still saying auxiliary coolant pump open circuit still. I've just plugged it in. I've plugged it in and it goes to the car, so there's not really much I can do about that one. Now, because it's an additional coolant, I thought it might be connected to the fan circuit, so I thought I'd plug in the radiator fans to see if that solves my issue. No, still just got that one code now for auxiliary coolant pump. There might be another pump that I've missed, I don't know at this point. So there we go, guys. Engine sounds sweet, up to temperature. I just need to check the coolant oil levels, look at that open circuit on the coolant pump. There may be another pump that I've missed, but I'll play around with that, that's fine. But really happy that the engine runs, it sounds sweet. There's no oil leaks, there's no coolant leaks. So yeah, really happy with the progress of today's video. So that is gonna be the end of today's video, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it. Full engine rebuild in one video. Appreciate, obviously I missed some bits off, but I covered quite a lot of the chains and stuff in the previous video, so I didn't want to repeat myself. I don't really know what the fate is for the Macan S, if I'm honest. I guess I've got two choices. Choice one is I just trade it straight out, just because don't forget, this isn't crash damage or anything like that. It's completely HPI clear. There's nothing wrong with this car whatsoever, so I can either just trade it straight out, or I don't really know if there's going to be any desire for anyone to want to win it in a raffle. I could do something like take it to Porsche, get them to put a 12-month warranty on it and then fully inspect it and then raffle it, or I just trade it out. Let me know what you think in the comments, guys. As I said, I'm not 100% sure what to do with it. But yeah, that is going to be it for today's video. Don't forget, go grab your tickets on the RS6 and Chris's GT4. They end in a couple of days. So as always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys. Aha! Found a plug. And I found another coolant pump down there, look. Yep, plugged in now. Oh yes, now we're talking. Beautiful.